Rachel Reeves' flagship promise to build 1.5 million new homes is collapsing faster than a poorly constructed tower block, and the people who actually build houses are screaming warnings that nobody in government seems interested in hearing. Construction firms are hitting breaking point. Two major companies have already gone into administration, and the supply chain that Labour desperately needs to deliver their ambitious targets is being systematically hollowed out by the very government that claims building homes is their top priority. It's the political equivalent of announcing you're going to run a marathon whilst simultaneously kneecapping yourself. The irony is spectacular, the consequences are devastating, and the gap between Labour's rhetoric and reality has never been wider. Welcome to the housing crisis under a government that promised to fix it but is actually making it catastrophically worse. Quick favour before we dive into this masterclass in policy self-sabotage. Hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon. Over 94% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. It's free, takes literally 2 seconds, and helps us keep bringing you these stories the mainstream media barely touches. Cheers if you did. Right, let's explore how Labour is killing the construction industry whilst claiming they're going to build more houses than anyone in history. So, the headline promise, 1.5 million new homes by 2029. That was Labour's big housing pledge in their manifesto. Bold, ambitious, exactly what Britain needs given our chronic housing shortage. Young people cannot afford to buy, rents are astronomical, homelessness is rising, and the solution is obviously to build more houses. Simple supply and demand economics. Build more supply, prices stabilize or fall, affordability improves, everyone wins. Except Labour has decided to simultaneously promise massive house building whilst implementing policies that make building houses significantly harder and more expensive. It's genuinely impressive how counterproductive their approach is. The Construction Plant Hire Association, representing over 1,900 member companies, has issued a stark warning that the government cannot ignore the firms underpinning building projects. These are the companies that provide the machinery, the equipment, the actual physical tools needed to construct houses. Without them, nothing gets built. They're not optional extras, they're fundamental infrastructure, and they're collapsing. Stephen Mullerland, the CPA's chief executive, delivered a quote that should terrify anyone who actually cares about housing. He said, "When construction slows, plant hire firms feel it first. They're the canary in the coal mine for the industry. And right now, that canary is not just sick, it's on life support." These businesses are capital-intensive and asset-heavy. They need confidence and long-term visibility to invest. You do not buy multi-million-pound cranes and diggers unless you're confident there will be work for them. Instead, they're being hit by weaker demand, higher employment costs, and prolonged tax uncertainty all at the same time. Think about that combination for a moment. Demand is falling because construction projects are slowing. Costs are rising because Rachel Reeves hiked employers' national insurance contributions. And tax uncertainty around business property relief changes means family-run firms, which make up over 85% of CPA members, have no idea what their future tax liabilities will be. How are you supposed to make investment decisions in that environment? You cannot. So firms stop investing, start cutting costs, and begin the slow slide towards insolvency. And Mullerland delivered the killer line. Nearly half of CPA members now believe current pressures could push firms towards insolvency. Half. Not a small minority, not a few struggling outliers, half of the entire sector thinks they might go bust. That is catastrophic, and his warning to Labour is perfect. If you're serious about delivering 1.5 million new homes, you cannot ignore the firms supplying the machinery and equipment that make building possible. Without investment in the supply chain, those homes simply will not be built. It is not a threat, it is a statement of physical reality. You cannot build houses without construction equipment. If the companies providing that equipment go bust, construction stops. It really is that simple. Reform UK's deputy leader Richard Tice absolutely nailed it when he called Labour's targets wildly unrealistic fantasy. He pointed out that their punitive tax raids on hard-working businesses have stifled growth and killed off the very jobs needed to build these homes. Labour will never achieve its targets in the economic mess it has created. That is not political spin, that is an accurate description of the situation. Labour has created conditions that make their own policy objectives impossible to achieve. Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride made the same point from a slightly different angle. He said, Labour talks up promises on house building, but their tax raids are crushing the very firms that help build them. You cannot deliver the homes we need by hollowing out the construction sector. And right now, under Reeves, confidence is collapsing and companies are paying the price. Again, that is just factual. Confidence in the construction sector has collapsed. The data proves it. A recent CPA survey found more than 90% of respondents would either invest less or delay investment over the next 12 months. 90%. That is not a slowdown, that is a complete freeze. And the reasons cited are falling workloads, weak project pipelines, and escalating cost pressures. Everything is going in the wrong direction simultaneously. The S&P Global UK Construction Purchasing Managers Index shows UK house building activity has remained in its deepest slump since the start of the pandemic. The wider construction sector has been in contraction for a year. A year. This is not a blip, this is a sustained downturn. And 2 large construction firms have already gone into administration in recent weeks. Warwick Ward Machinery Limited, a major construction plant dealer operating for 55 years, went into administration in December. 55 years of successful trading ended. Then Caldwell Construction Limited, which provides groundwork services for several national house builders and employs over 400 people, followed less than a month later. That is 400 jobs gone, 400 families affected, and significant capacity removed from the construction supply chain. And those are just the high-profile cases. How many smaller firms are quietly closing without media coverage? The 2 key pressures identified are rising employment costs from national insurance hikes and uncertainty around business property relief changes. Let's unpack those because they're entirely self-inflicted by Labour. Rachel Reeves decided to increase employers' national insurance contributions in her budget. Construction firms, which employ thousands of workers, now face significantly higher wage bills. Those costs have to come from somewhere. Either they reduce staff, which decreases capacity to build houses, or they absorb the costs, which damages profitability and makes investment impossible. There is no good option. 93%. Think about that. If your rent or mortgage suddenly increased by 93%, you'd be homeless. Yet small businesses are expected to absorb these increases and carry on as normal. Fellow Labour MP Toby Perkins urged the government to provide details of promised help for pubs, noting that many are really concerned and trying to make accounting decisions right now under the impression that further help is coming. They're operating in complete uncertainty, which is possibly the worst thing for business planning aside from actual bankruptcy. Kat Eccles, another Labour backbencher, made the crucial point that this isn't just about pubs, but all hospitality businesses, including music venues, which have been massively impacted by a perfect storm of new valuations, the end of COVID-related reliefs, and rising energy costs. Perfect storm is exactly right. These businesses survived a pandemic, survived lockdowns, survived energy price spikes, and now they're being finished off by their own government tax policy. It's like watching someone survive a shipwreck, swim to shore, crawl up the beach, and then get hit by a bus driven by the Chancellor. Let's break down why these increases are happening, because the mechanics matter. Business rates are calculated partly on the value of premises, and new property valuations come into effect on April 1st. So if your pub or restaurant's property value has increased, your business rates skyrocket, regardless of whether your actual business is doing well or struggling. You could be losing money hand over fist, but if your property is worth more on paper, congratulations, your tax bill just exploded. Additionally, a discount introduced to help hospitality businesses cope with the impact of the COVID pandemic is ending, so businesses are hit with a double whammy: massive valuation increases and the removal of COVID support. This isn't economic policy, it's economic brutality. The Beer and Pub Association's warning of £150 million in higher bills annually and 15,000 jobs at risk isn't scaremongering, it's basic mathematics. If costs go up dramatically and revenue doesn't increase correspondingly, businesses cut costs. That means redundancies, reduced hours, or closure. And when pubs close, it's not just about losing a place to drink. Pubs are community hubs, social centers, places where people gather, talk, build relationships. When a pub closes, particularly in a village or small town, it's a devastating blow to community cohesion. But apparently that's acceptable collateral damage in Rachel Reeves's economic master plan. Now let's address the sheer nerve of Reeves's comments at Davos.